when their guy plays some games.
Alright, hi y'all, Weather Guy here. We are back with some Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I hope you're doing great. I am feeling pretty good, not too bad. We're back doing the Twisted Karma and His Last Vow, I think this case is called. And it's finally time to get ready for the trial. There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. The stakes have really raised, haven't they? It's crazy. Actually, no, it's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. There's a menacing tension in the air here today, isn't there? I suppose? Yes, I think so. There's our boy. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. However, you are certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details. However, I understand that no jury has been selected. Trial without jury? Well, that's just like trial of the professor 10 years ago. Oh no, are we gonna get screwed because it's gonna be like a kangaroo court? Closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Rio? An outright victory for science, you must agree. Yeah, it's back to normal. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Ha! What to one man is a little hair problem, is to another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. Yeah, it's terrible. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim. And I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases, the Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you. What an honor. And that would be your eye for a good lawyer, sir. But Mr. Sholmes, that's such a kind compliment. After all, behind this lawyer there is a very great mind, my own. Brutal. What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Oh boy, Sholmes is going to be injecting himself in. Gina! What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose. Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Here's our BFF Gina. Otto. Oh, yes, Gina. Why'd you agree to this, eh? Why'd you take him on? That's right, because he supposedly killed her best friend. This Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was him, what? What killed the boss? No. Sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if it weren't him, who was it? I don't know that yet. I don't care who calls him what. The Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. If it turns out it was him what killed the boss, help him. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. At least that may be some solace to the deceased. Yeah, dude. But please, Otto. Get whoever did this. For the boss. Oh, Gina. Great. I hate feeling like this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you gotta find who done this and make the wretch pay. Yeah, she is. So sad. And now it's time to get into the court. There's the bailiffs talking. Alright then, here we go. It's time, Mr. Real, Lord Van Zieks. Great. It is time. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, we're going to have to look it straight in the eye. That's so true. Second November, 9:20 a.m. Court time. Gosh, yeah, we're up against Kazuma. That's so crazy.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct a fair and just trial of the defendant, Barak Van Zieks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin?
The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long. It feels... I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench.
The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today we must uncover the truth behind this scourge.
In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder.
The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions through the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial. No members of the public present. By Her Majesty's direct orders.
How will that work, my lord?
The burden of all arbitration and education falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the juror's bench shall remain vacant today.
No members of the public are present. I'd ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord.
There are members of the judiciary here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial.
Members of the judiciary. Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already.
There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings on which I must elaborate. Counsels for the prosecution and defense are both aliens of Great Britain.
I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain this is the reason why I had to come to Britain.
Zuma. Very well, let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Asogi, your opening statement, if you please.
Here we go. Certainly, my lord. That's such a long scroll, holy moly, he's not going to read all of that, is he? The incident took place on 1st November at just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property.
Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known very well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago.
Professor Case, how sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot and all have reported the same time. Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There were a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly.
How has the range been determined?
There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range.
I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel.
Very good. You can look at that autopsy report. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim.
Have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm?
No, my lord. Not conclusively.
Bravo, Kazuma.
We're not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance cannot be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There is a candelabrum mounted on that wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile.
We noticed that too, didn't we?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please.
As you wish, my lord.
Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode?
No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone. There is precious little furniture inside and is generally in a poor state of repair. Alright, while we're talking about this, let's go ahead and go into our new evidence that we found. Yeah. Mariah Gorey. Victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind. The caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary. Okay. Crime scene. Nothing to see here as of now, but we'll probably have to point something out at some point. Interesting. Now, what is this here? Was this a desk, or was this like a fireplace? Not sure, I don't remember. We'll probably find out. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there?
Presumably he was investigating some case or other.
When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot.
So, the details of the case are clear.
In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness.
Your name, please, Counsel.
Naturally, the accused himself.
Lord Van Zieks.
As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken and will be compelled to tell the truth. Very good.
Very well, let the defendant take the witness stand.
Let's go. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Barack Van Zieks, Old Bailey prosecutor.
I presume, Lord Van Zieks, that you heard Prosecutor Asogi's opening precis.
I did.
It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this?
Yes, my lord. But I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Oh, my little child's starting to wake up a bit. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question. And what exactly took place. I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth.
I must say, Lord Van Zieks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony then, witness.
Here we go. Time for our first testimony of what is the final big case. of the Chronicles. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. Okay, that all seems to make sense. That testimony was the whole truth? It was. So you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? It was dark in the room. You're right, you haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asogi.
It would appear to be a singular tale indeed.
Singular isn't the word, it's laughable. What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. I really think he's been like brainwashed.
Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. Or Kazuma has like an evil twin. Alright, time to start, pressing and stuff. You were investigating the inspector. What on earth for? I'm not at liberty to say. Sorry? I'd identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in the case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed.
Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene?
No, I was privy to his movements in advance.
How?
I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary.
Oof.
The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office. In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense.
As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zieks?
I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim. And yet, you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man? That's fine.
Hold it!
Had you ever been to the address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. At 5 p.m., the sun would only just have gone down. It still had been reasonably light outside. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. There's no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. So that means that the candles over there were not lit. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain. Look, Mr. Ryu. There's a small desk in the room just here. Yes, I remember, and there was an oil lamp on it, as well as a framed photograph. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate. What did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. Alright, let's hear about this part.
Hold it!
So, who fired the gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room. You say it was very dark in there. Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is I didn't sense another's presence.
Ah, then could it be the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room?
No, because of the muzzle. No, that's out of the question.
Oh,
Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder.
this is going from bad to worse.
You say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor? Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part.
Presumably then the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands.
In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not.
What?
The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder.
But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired?
Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I too would dearly like to know that. Interesting, maybe it was Gregson's gun that fell.
Hold it!
A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume?
That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street.
Who are these merchants?
A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened.
Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she?
They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process.
You're supposed to be the Reaper.
The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled.
A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred.
Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. Last thing?
Hold it!
What do you mean by that? What way did the body appear?
The light from the door opening. I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was.
Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand?
At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first, nothing more.
I see.
After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson.
Most curious circumstances indeed.
How the inspector was killed or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere, I have no idea.
Objection!
Objection.
Surely the court has heard enough.
My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Barak Van Zieks, is lying on multiple fronts. What is that supposed to mean?
Good gracious, counsel. The defendant is lying, you say?
In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark.
That's correct.
Wrong voice.
No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything?
If you examine, that's a typo. The tip of the long candle you can see has been blown off by a powerful impact.
One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle.
The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length.
Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long.
We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all three candles together. Which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others.
That must be because that particular candle was extinguished and the others were still burning. Ah.
That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out.
but the other 2 candles would still have been burning, so the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabra. And the accused's claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. Oh no. And now to the next lie. Oh no, another. There's more? The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. We already theorized, though, that those are from Gregson. Yes, that's right. We saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. Yes, the professor case. And there is a common thread linking all the documents on that board.
Indeed, what is this common thread, counsel?
They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Barak van Zieks.
All of them?
And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted.
Good lord.
Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper.
Ah. Oh no.
In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations. That doesn't make sense. Sounds like someone's investigating the Reaper. Why would he be investigating himself? But the Reaper's hideout? And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout? No one would believe that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards.
Backwards? Explain, counsel.
Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. What? Nope. Shenanigans. There's a lot of people in the judiciary.
Order, order, order. Very well, I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Barak van Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Asogi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts.
All I have done is state the truth as I know it. Suma's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case. And it's formidable.
Counsel, you will submit to the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence.
Thank you, my lord. Nice, we get to look at the whole notice board. And now the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Let's look at this real quick. And again, I'm doing it in shorter chunks now, the videos, just because I do have a child here. So I'm just trying to put out as many as I can, so this is going to end shortly. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age, look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same red-headed league advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. Do you remember there was a red hairpiece at the scene too? Inspector Gregson an exponent of the red-headed league then? Interesting. Oh, interesting. Oh, what's this? Mr. Reader, look. Oh yes, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint. And the color, that's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing. Interesting, wonder how that got there. That's odd. Alright, nothing else? Nothing else. Alright, we're gonna look at who the next witnesses are and then we're gonna call it. Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. I just want to see what they look like.
Very well, lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand.
Certainly, my lord. Little Red Riding Hood, guy with a huge mouth. And that guy who looks the same as the driver from Case 3 of the first game of Adventures. Alright, cool. That's all we got though today. Next time we're going to have our cross-examination with these witnesses, and then who knows what's next. I have no idea exactly where this case is going, and I'm very excited for that. But that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all are amazing. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Make sure you take care of others. And I will see you next time.